report on the 4th floor, a male with a shotgun, multiple shots fired, multiple people down. We're still waiting for the okay that the scene has been secured. We have an active shooter on the 4th floor. I'll get you an update on the building location with several victims down.
Alexis was a civilian contractor from New York. He joined the Navy in 2007, serving in the Fleet Logistics Support Squadron, which means they basically plan, process, and transport different shipments to the fleet at any given time. He was stationed in Fort Worth, Texas, and by January 2011, he was honorably discharged from the Navy, even though there were some things that he did within that time that was far from honorable. The Navy originally wanted to give him a general discharge, something they give to people who may have had trouble on their jacket. Sometimes it's because of minor incidents, but in the case of Alexis, there were plenty of early signs of mental illness that everyone seemed to ignore. In 2004, Aaron was arrested for what was called malicious mischief. He took a gun and shot out the tires of another man's vehicle, a construction worker. He called it an anger-fueled blackout. In 2008, he was cited for disorderly conduct. Actually, Aaron was cited on 8 occasions for misconduct, according to a Navy official. In 2010, he was arrested in Fort Worth, Texas for discharging a weapon within city limits. Allegedly, the real story is he shot his gun into a neighbor's apartment after making a noise complaint, but he claimed he was cleaning his gun and it went off by accident. He was never prosecuted for those situations. Aaron was suffering from some serious mental issues like paranoia, hearing voices, and sleep disorder. By 2013, he was doing odd jobs under a subcontractor, refreshing computer systems for the Marine Corps. So at that point, even though he was discharged, he was still plugged in, still active in a sense, still working for the Navy, providing some form of service. That same year, the year of the shooting, August 2013 to be exact, he was treated by the Veterans Administration for mental issues. And even his family told investigators that he was supposedly treated for mental issues. From that, he was given a prescription for trazodone, an antidepressant medication. All of these events were well documented, but somehow overlooked. Now, when it came to getting that high security clearance, Aaron lied on the application, claiming that he had not been arrested in the last 7 years, as well as never being charged with a felony. He was approved and received a secret level security clearance. That was back in 2008. The clearance was good for 10 years. So on August 2nd, 2013, he filed a police report claiming he was hearing voices, and he also believed he was being controlled by extremely low frequency electromagnetic waves. August 4th, 2013, the police was called to the hotel room because he took apart his bed thinking someone was hiding under it. And then, sometime around August 25th, 2013, he arrived in DC to work at the Navy Yard as a civilian contractor at Building 197. He moved from hotel to hotel in Bethesda, Maryland, then to Pentagon City, and then to the Residence Inn in Southwest DC, the last hotel he would ever stay in. He began working at the Navy Yard on September 9th, 2013. 5 days later, September 14th, he went to a gun shop in Northern Virginia and bought a Remington shotgun. Now, as far as shotguns, they work different from handguns. You can go to the gun store and purchase a shotgun and leave with it that day. If you did all the necessary steps like filling out all the forms, the 77R, and whatever applications for your city or state and so forth. But you still have to submit your info at the gun store to do a quick FBI check, and the gun store may get that info back in like 5 or 10 minutes. After that, you could literally walk out with a shotgun. So this is why Aaron was able to buy and leave with the shotgun that day, 2 days before the massacre. The same shotgun he used to slaughter 12 people. Later, Aaron bought a hacksaw and sawed off a portion of the barrel. He carved some phrases on the shotgun that said "better off this way," and "my elf weapon." Elf meant extremely low frequencies. The man was now well. September 16th, 2013, the day of the mass attack, he arrived on site at 7:53 a.m. in a blue Toyota Prius. He parked in the garage. He was able to get in with his special pass, so he then walked on foot carrying a backpack heading to Building 197, and there was no metal detector. He made it on site with the bag containing his shotgun and ammunition. He then headed to the 4th floor and went straight to the bathroom. By the time he left out, he had the weapon in hand moving through the hallway quickly. By 8:16 a.m., the first victim was hit. 911 was called a minute later.
We have an active shooter.
And the killing continued. He moved from the 4th floor to the 3rd, even killing an armed guard, and took his weapon to use in the situation. Multiple agencies arrived on scene: Park Police, U.S. Marshals, contract guards, Navy Department of Defense, and of course, MPD. There were at least 117 officers. The first responders entered the building through the east entrance. 4 minutes later, Earn was on the west side of the building, murdering the 12th and final victim at 8:38 a.m. The worst was over by this point, but an armed killer was still on the loose, going floor to floor, and by 9:14, an MPD officer made contact with him. Earn shot at and struck the officer, which injured him but didn't take him out. So 11 minutes later, at 9:25 a.m., Earn tried to ambush more MPD officers who returned fire on the 3rd floor of the building. Law enforcement engaged him, moving in for the kill, and he was hit in the head. Target down. Threat neutralized. Finally, they took him out. The first victim was murdered at 8:16 a.m., and the time that law enforcement killed Aaron Alexis was 9:25 a.m., more than an hour after his first kill. 12 murdered and 4 wounded. All of the murder victims were civilian contractors and over the age of 40.
Major story in Washington, the massacre at the Navy Yard just blocks from the U.S. Capitol.
It was the start of the work week for thousands, their day transformed into one of sheer chaos as the shooter went on his rampage. So much of the city in lockdown on Monday.
Michael Arnold, Lorton, Virginia, 59 years old. Martin Bodrog, Annandale, Virginia, age 54. Sylvia Frazier, Waldorf, Maryland, age 53. Kathleen Gard, age 62, Woodbridge, Virginia. John Roger Johnson, Durwood, Maryland, age 73. Mary Frances DeLorenzo Knight, Reston, Virginia, age 51. Frank Kohler, Tall Timbers, Maryland, age 50. Vishnu Pandit, North Potomac, Maryland, age 61. Kenneth Bernard Proctor, Waldorf, Maryland, age 46. Gerald Reed, Alexandria, Virginia, age 58. Richard Michael Ridgel, Westminster, Maryland, age 52.
Arthur Daniels, age 51 and the only resident of DC out of the 12 victims. Coming out of Southeast, his job was relocating and installing office furniture in government buildings. He was called to work inside the Navy Yard. They assigned him to building 197 on the 4th floor. Just 4 years prior, in 2009, he lost his 14-year-old son who shared the same name, who was shot in the back while running away, losing his life the same way. Both of them died running away from a shooter. Officers feared a potential second shooter. Businesses were notified, a school in the area went on lockdown, shelters were set in place, people were escorted from the building, MPD had the K9 bloodhounds checking the perimeter, and later they came to the conclusion that Aaron acted alone. A secret clearance was given to a man with way too many red flags. Fingers were pointed at the contractor. There were claims that they ignored his mental health issues. That firm was terminated from their contract, and gun control activists used the Navy Yard massacre to protest. Folks came to DC rallying for stricter gun laws, but the gun laws were already strict.
What happened here at the Navy Yard this week is a tragic reminder that Congress is not doing enough to prevent gun violence.
It was just a matter of a man with mental issues not being taken serious or overlooked. But rest in peace to the victims though, man. They were parents, some were grandparents and siblings. Stay tuned for the other video. It's even sadder and more shocking than this, and it took place on DC soil.